Welcome to another episode of Plastic Surgery Uncensored. I'm your host, Dr. Rady, and today's show is going to be very, very fascinating. And most importantly, awesome, because I love shows where we have patients. And luckily, I'm blessed. The patients that we have on the shows are people I really like. Truthfully, I like most of my patients, but I'm not going to lie. The ones that come on the show, I like even more because we have a very special connection. And we are incredibly lucky to have Brandy all the way from Texas joining us. And Brandy is a longtime patient. We met 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe longer.
Yeah. And so very excited to have her. Always, I'm so grateful when patients come on. I think that you as the listener gain a lot by having patients who are willing to come on the show and share their experience, because at the end of the day, me telling you and them telling you are completely different. So, Brandy, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, it's a pleasure. So let's give some background information, shall we? Let's start out with the basics. How old are you?
41.
Awesome. You are married and have how many kids?
Married with 4 boys.
4 boys. And I do know that because I follow you, because I've known you for many years and I love your little boys, and you guys are like a kick-ass family. I just love that you guys are active and out and about. We operated on you. I operated on you in 2017?
Yes.
Okay. And what did we do? What 2 procedures did we do?
Rhinoplasty and breast augmentation.
Okay. So we did a rhinoplasty, its own thing. Breast augmentation, its own thing. So why this is unique is many times people think, oh, you had 4 boys, so you had a mommy makeover, right? No, I didn't have a mommy makeover. I didn't do that at all. A traditional mommy makeover, and you can define mommy makeover any way you want because it's just a random term, but it's usually a breast implant, usually a breast lift, usually a tummy tuck, usually some liposuction. So Brandy, how tall are you and how much do you weigh?
5'4" and right now 115.
Okay, so 5'4" and 15, you had 4 beautiful boys. You're incredibly lucky. A, you're very genetically blessed. B, you kick some ass, and I know you work very hard to be the way you are. So, at any rate, you came to me. At the time you lived, you were telling me you lived in Bishop, California. Whereabouts is Bishop, California relative to Beverly Hills?
About 4 to 5 hours north of you.
So not close.
Near Mammoth Lake.
Mammoth Lake. So not close. 5 hours is to me a damn far. That's like a state away.
Exactly.
Okay. In California, you could be 8 hours away and still in the same state. But for all intents and purposes, quite far. Okay. So you had your 4 boys. And then let's start with the thought process. Because every person who decides to do a cosmetic procedure at some point, it could be when I was 16, and it could have been a year prior to my procedure, but at some point entertains the idea that I don't like the way X looks and I'd like to change it. That's the nidus. That's the impetus. That's the if you will, the ignition or the trigger. So when was it that you decided that you want to do your nose, and when was it that you decided you want to do your breast?
For as far back as I can remember, maybe to middle school, when my nose appeared crooked, very crooked. And I had a Lebanese nose, so it was bigger, the ethnic nose. And I always wanted to fix it, but I never thought I would. I thought I would just live with it. But no, I was in my 30s. So my husband decided, yeah, if you want to change it, let's do it.
Okay. So your nose issue, which is almost always the case, started when you were a young girl.
Yeah.
Or in some instances, a young man. In other words, noses bother people in their teens. Seldom do you go through your teens, minus a car accident, baseball to your face when you're an old, whatever. Seldom do you go through your entire life and all of a sudden 40, you're like, my nose doesn't look good. It's almost always as a young adult. Whether you do it or not, that's a whole different animal. But that's not uncommon. So then what about the breast?
After 4 boys, man, there just wasn't anything left.
Did you breastfeed?
I did, all 4 of them.
For how long, roughly?
Just under a year per kid.
Okay.
I mean, and my last 2 boys were twins, so They sucked the life out of me.
Okay, so here you are, 5'3", 115 pounds, not a very big girl. What size were your breasts prior to any babies?
Probably a C.
Okay, so you had an average size breast.
Yeah.
Meaning you weren't huge and you certainly weren't tiny. And as a result, for your smaller frame, you were able to breastfeed 4 children, which means you had enough breast tissue to do that.
Yeah.
And so the assumption is that after you finish breastfeeding, were the twins the last set?
Yep.
So the assumption is that the last drop of milk comes out, you go in front of the mirror and you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
What happened?
I would like to be able to fill out a shirt again.
Okay. So then the breast happened, right?
Yes.
Okay. So breasts happen after breastfeeding, very common. Nose happen in elementary school or high school, very common. So tell me the thought process, because tummies and bellies are common, but you'd be surprised because I do a lot of noses. I do a ton of mommy makeovers with noses.
Okay.
You understand?
Yes.
They're usually not linked together because facial guys do noses and body guys do breasts and body. And it's uncommon that you will be doing like, oh my God, this guy's breast work is amazing. Oh, and I really like his nose work. It's not as common, right?
Right.
It's more common. I love this guy's breasts and his tummy tucks. He does noses, or he only does noses. He doesn't do breasts. So it's nice that that's available here. And so as a result, I do a lot of noses and tummies, noses and bellies, and noses and breasts. So what was the trigger event that said, F it?
Let's do it. So I had friends and family members who were sort of in the same stage as me with, done having kids, getting their breasts done. I had a friend come to you and she did hers, and that sort of jump-started the whole thing. And I figured if I were going to fix my breast, then I might as well do my nose too.
Right. So very common. It's someone else's journey that inspires you to do it, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I always wanted to, I don't know. And then you find out Susie or your aunt or your friend or your neighbor. You're like, well, shit, if they can do it, I can do it. So then let's talk about homework, right? So you decide you want to do this. First question is interpersonal relationships. You say, hey, honey, I'm doing this. You say, hey, honey, what do you think? You say, hey, honey, I'm not telling you. What is the relation? Because
my husband was on board. He supports me always, no matter what. Having my friend come to you to do hers was a huge help, to get all the information from her and see if she was happy with her results, and then also doing your research.
Right. So that definitely makes it easier to have a reference or a recommendation. So let's talk about your husband. So it makes, when you're married, your partner's important. They're there. Yeah. And so having a quote unquote supportive partner versus some people don't have a supportive partner.
Right.
Some people, you go and say, hey, honey, I'm thinking of doing my nose and my breasts. They're like, what? Why? And 2 things could happen. One, they're anti you doing it because we don't have the money. We have 4 kids, for the love of God. They think that you look fine. I mean, some people hide under the idea that you look beautiful.
Yes.
Right? I can tell you 1,000 women I've met in consultations, and they're like, yeah, but my husband, it happens to be a woman. It can be in reverse. Women are generally more supportive than men are. And it's often, my husband is like, you look beautiful the way you are. And we're looking at her together, and we're like, me and her, and going like, what? You look like a bomb went off on your abdomen. You can barely get out of bed. Come on now. So it's great that you say it, but let's be honest, it's not really always authentic. And so it's wonderful that your husband was authentically supportive, because it definitely makes the process easier, right?
Yes, for sure.
Okay. So then you're like, this friend of yours came to me, but did you just completely not do any homework? What was the homework process? She went to him, I'm going to him? Or did you say...
No, she went maybe a year before me, but she had thrown your name out there, and we had searched other doctors as well. And then I think after you were the only one we had a consultation with, and then seeing your before and afters, and then looking on Real Self and reading reviews and all that.
So what was the important things for you? Because at the end of the day, as I mentioned to you, you're doing your nose.
Yes.
And then you're doing your breast. And it's kind of like having orthopedic surgery and urology. You know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to say? Like, somehow people expect breasts and bellies to go together.
Right.
Breasts and noses are like totally, completely unrelated. So how did your homework process
go? I really like seeing your before and afters and how everybody's results were so different, but yet their noses still fit their faces so well and look natural. Same with the breasts. Like, you never, like, when we met with you, you never forced to go bigger or were going to make me look unnatural, but the before and afters were very helpful.
So images are very helpful. And people ask me all the time, right? Because what we're talking about is like, how do I know where to go? How do I know that Dr. Smith is going to be the one? And the answer is you don't.
Right.
You don't know. But you do have a lot of information that should lead you in a direction. So you mentioned pretty much the main ones. You read a bunch of reviews, and obviously you take everything with a grain of salt, but you're looking for trends, right? Oh my God, here's 200, the doctor walks on water reviews, and here's like 35, the doctor is a horrible person reviews. Well, I think it's pretty obvious that there's a trend. Then you look at a boatload of before and afters, and you look for diversity and variety and a certain image that is likable to you. I've had many patients choose not to come to me because they think the images look too natural. In other words, the taste that they want, what they're looking for, is perhaps a bit more stylized or more done look, right? So you're looking for someone whose work is contingent with the way you like things.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, I mean, literally, some people are like, yeah. I had a gal say that, I don't know why she came to me, but she came to me and she's like, listen, I really like your work, but don't be offended. It's not dramatic enough. Can you make my nose more dramatic? That was the word that she used. And I was kind of like, not really, because I make the nose the way I make the nose.
Right.
If you want a more dramatic nose or a larger breast, you will find someone who does that, and it's part of their makeup. So you did your reviews, you did the homework, you came, we did a consult, it seemed to fit. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back, and then I want to talk about the second half of this, which is, wait, so you want to tell me you travel for surgery, you have 4 kids, I want to know about recovery, I want to know how the hell you organize your 4 kids. How did you manage? Did you have like 4 nannies come take care of them? Or, so there is the logistics of traveling and children and doing 2 procedures. And so we'll take a quick break. We'll come back and we'll get your experience and what you did, which will vary obviously from everybody. All right. So let's take a quick break. We'll be right back with Plastic Surgery Uncensored. All right, welcome back to the second half of Plastic Surgery Uncensored. We are chatting with Brandy. Brandy is a patient of mine who is sweeter than pie and who had surgery almost 7 years ago, nose and breast. And we're chatting about now the recovery aspect because the desire is quite commonly there. There's thousands of people that want to do it, but only a handful of them pull the trigger. And the reason they pull the trigger is because there's actually a whole aftermath. There's a goddamn, it isn't you just do it and it goes away. You have to recover and you have to do follow-ups and you have to, So Brandy, how old were your kids when you did this procedure?
Oh, my youngest twins, I think, were 3.
Okay. 3.
We're not babies. And then maybe a 5-year-old and a 8-year-old.
So you had 2 3-year-olds, a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old.
Yes.
right? You lived in Bishop, which was 5 hours away.
Yes.
Were you a working mom or a stay-home mom?
Stay-at-home mom.
And your husband works?
Yes.
Okay. And so tell me how physically, what are the steps? I'm a mom. I'm listening carefully. I'm like, holy shit. How did you do this? Give me your secrets. What were the things that you thought about? Why didn't you just stay in Bishop and do this plastic surgery?
We don't have options. It's such a small town. I mean, our hospital is tiny.
Okay.
So, I mean, we have to travel to go to a store, like a Target. You have to drive.
So there were millions of Americans for whom this is the same situation. They're in small towns.
Yep.
Sure as hell not going to go to the closest next town to get it done. You still have to travel. So if you're going to travel, you decided what? If you have to travel because there's nothing happening in Bishop. So option is travel to wherever you think is going to be best or travel to the closest town that has a surgeon.
Travel to where you're going to get the best care.
Okay. Was there any hesitation in that?
None.
None. All right. So then tell me about the logistics. Teach me.
So I guess thank God for paid time off for my husband. I was able to go to, let me think. He went to the consultation with me. I don't believe we took our boys. We had family close, so thank goodness for that. Sisters and mom, they helped watch the kids. So we would take a trip down, sometimes stay the night, or just do a trip down and back in the same day.
Okay, so that takes care of the consult. Then what happens? You have surgery.
Surgery.
Where did you stay after the surgery?
We stayed in a hotel, and it was very close to where the surgery center was.
Okay, and how long did you stay locally?
I think it was only a day. I believe I had to see you the following day.
So you usually see me we have you stay a day. We never let you travel because God forbid you have a complication. We want you close.
Yes.
We usually see you at the first week. So presumably after a day or so, you traveled back.
Yes.
So who was staying with your kids?
My family.
Family. So basically you recruit your community, family, friends to help you, right?
Yes.
Okay. You obviously, the kids weren't taking care of themselves. And then you go back and you're a little discombobulated, right? You had a breast aug, you had this cast on your nose, you're in some discomfort, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think my husband, he maybe took a week off to stay home, take care of the kids, take him to and from school. I recovered at home in bed.
Okay. So you took care of yourself. So that is critical. What you do not want to do is do a surgery and then be super mom.
Yeah.
That's a disaster.
Yes.
I mean, disaster. If you can't recover appropriately, which means take time off, don't do the procedure.
100%.
Your husband, your friends, your family can help you. Don't do the procedure. What you don't want to do is do the breast aug. The doctor tells you, oh, you'll be fine. You'll be fine in 2 days, 3 days. And you're not fine. You get up, you pick up your kids, you make them lunch, you're miserable, you take a couple of narcotics, and then you get a hematoma, a bleed in your breast. And now you're totally effed.
Yeah.
So you did the math and you're like, my husband can take a week off. By the way, if your husband can't, your sister can. If your sister can't, your friend can. If your friend can't, everyone can take a day. Someone's got to help you out.
Yeah.
So, and then what happened?
Well, maybe after the first week, I remember my family helping out a ton, but I did what I was supposed to, recovered, never had any issues, traveled back to you after, a week?
Yes. And then you came to your follow-ups, right?
Yeah.
So you picked a surgeon that was far away because that was who you thought was best. And what you didn't do is shortchange your experience. What I am a pet peeve of mine is that patients come to me from all over the world and then do the surgery, which I'm honored. And then I give them follow-up instructions and times to see, and then they disappear, which I understand. I get it. You live in Dubai, for the love of God. You're not going to travel 16 hours for like a 2-month follow-up. But for the rest of the people that are relatively close, and it's an hour flight or 2-hour flight for them, you come in the morning, you leave in the afternoon, you really should consider that if you're paying for this, you should stay and do your follow-ups because that's what you're paying for. Like hair, you're paying for care. Care isn't surgery. Care is surgery plus the aftercare. And that's a big pet peeve of mine, and doctors love it when you don't show up. It's the best thing ever. You paid me. I love it. Thank you. I did your surgery and you disappear. Oh, fantastic. You don't come back. I don't have to see you. There's no conflict. And then something happens to you and then they're nowhere to be found, these doctors, because you haven't followed up in 6 months.
Right.
So I'm proud of you because you came to all of your follow-ups. What was your last follow-up? Was at a year, right?
Right.
We saw you then because I remember seeing you.
Yep. And you said that the nose takes a year to heal, and it definitely took a year.
All right. So what was so perfect? Here you have you had a surgery. You did your breast and you did your nose. Which one of them looked totally normal and felt like it was healed first?
The breasts, for
No
sure.
question asked, right?
Very quick recovery.
Like,
but they hurt, the nose never hurt. Like you said, it was not painful ever. The boobs hurt a little more, but nothing too terrible at all. But they healed much quicker.
Right. We tell you, 6 weeks, breast, go on with your life, go to the gym.
Yep.
Nose, we tell you, you're fine, but it's not going to look done for a year to 2 years. And what happened with your nose?
It just not numb, but just like a tingling feeling if you'd touch it, or it was more swollen.
Like the shape of it, obviously now 6-7 years later, haven't you noticed that kind of every year or so it looks a little bit more refined and better?
Oh yeah, I would do it 1,000,000 times over.
Right. It's a significant journey for the nose, and it's underestimated, but it definitely continues to change over time. So we love it. We love this story. We love this story because you're an awesome mom. You're an awesome family. You guys are an average family, and by that I mean great respect. You're not uber wealthy. You don't have 7 nannies. You're not, you don't have endless amount of money. You're what we would call a classic American family. You did your so-called duty, which is you brought into this world 4 beautiful children, and you wanted a rejuvenation so that you're 41 now and you look like a superstar. I'm sure when you guys go on vacation and you wear a bikini, right?
Yes.
Okay, so 41-year-old mom should wear a bikini. It's like, that's the whole point. So you're a wonderful story of the success that we can have by doing the right things. You picked the right location, meaning you didn't just go down the street because you're in the middle of nowhere. You followed up on you did your end of the bargain, and you utilized the resources around you, friends and family, to help you accomplish this very finite event in your life. And now you're the beneficiary of it. That's kind of like the gift that keeps on giving. Like, you just look great, right?
Yes.
All right. What if any recommendations do you have for the mom in Wyoming or Idaho or wherever that's like, God, I want. What are your thoughts? So give me your
Do your homework. Don't just go to anybody. Make sure they're board certified. You like their work. You commit to the recovery. And it does take time. It's not just the surgeries, not the easy part, the recovery. The surgery is the easy part. The recovery is the hard part.
Got it. Absolutely. Wise words. In other words, all you do is show up and go to sleep. It's the aftermath that matters.
Yep.
Very well said. Well, we are grateful as always, because anytime we chat or tell a story, it's just so much more beneficial to the listening audience when it comes through an individual who actually experienced it. And we love it when the story is a positive one. So thank you for coming on this Sunday. I know your kids are waiting to go do something fun. And we look forward to seeing you down the line for whatever other things that you ultimately life brings you or you need. And it's always a pleasure to see you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
It's my pleasure. All right, guys. So that wraps up an episode of Plastic Surgery Uncensored. As you know, I always end with 2 things. One, if you love our show, go write something nice. Go say something sweet. God, all we do in America is complain. So if you like our show, go write something nice so that the people who put the show together feel good about themselves. And secondly, you never know when you have a friend or family who's going to go do a cosmetic procedure and you're going to wish you had sent them this show in advance. So just spread this show around to the people you care about. so that they are informed and will ultimately make good choices when and if they decide to do surgery. All right, guys, as always, I'm your host, Dr. Rady signing off on Plastic Surgery Uncensored.